everybody, and welcome to the world's favorite youth baseball podcast, Clearing the Bases, featuring Coach Jimmy, Phil, and Jerry. I'm David Friedman. I want to thank you for coming along this journey with us. How are we doing today, Coach?
Doing good, Dave. How about you?
I am fantastic. Summer season winding down for you?
Yeah, we had a practice tonight. We'll practice again Thursday, and then we have one more tournament, and it'll be a wrap.
All right. Good deal. So and then you get, day and a half off, and then fall season starts?
No, actually, I'm going to go on vacation. Believe that. I don't even know what that word means, but going to take a week off and go down to Ocean City, New Jersey for a week.
Nice.
Come back, and then I'll probably get going on. Yep.
Then we hit it up again. All right, cool. Good deal. So we'll get into, I think on another time, maybe we'll do some look back and reflections on the season that was for you, and talk about some of the things that you learned as a coach. I think we're always in a position to learn new things as we go along here.
I think that's the goal, right?
Yeah, it should be. So I wanted to start this show off a little differently. So when last we met, we were talking about competition and competitiveness, and a couple things came up over the couple weeks that the Olympics were going on, which just finished up this past weekend. A couple of topics that came up, and I wanted to throw them out there at you. And obviously not youth baseball related, but sports related, and certainly competition wise. And I wanted to see kind of what you thought of them, and if you had any thoughts on them. And we're gonna go with this. So just so everybody knows, this is not something that we rehearsed ahead of time. I told Jimmy I had a curveball to throw at him, and this is just something I've been thinking about, and I wanted to kind of talk about and get your feelings on it. So.
Well, wait a second, though. Before you go with the question, I got to step out of the batter's box. I'm going to take a deep breath. I've got to do my focus, and then I have to get back in the batter's box because, I want to make sure I'm ready for this.
Tighten up your batting gloves, and let's go. I'm throwing them. So, all right. So the first one is one I'm sure that you absolutely heard of because everybody in the world found out about this. So, Simone Biles. All right. Yeah. So she is the superstar gymnast. Ridiculous number of gold medals and accolades through the years. She is the best of the best. And so she hit a point this Olympics where she was competing, had a rough go of it one day, and decided to pull herself out. And there was pretty quickly a pretty distinct line of people that were either talking about how great it was that she recognized that she was struggling and she pulled herself out so somebody else from the team, one of the alternates, could get in and compete. And then there was the other line. Seemed like there was another hard line of people that thought it was ridiculous that she trained for all this, and then she just basically quit, was the terminology. Not my views. No angry letters and emails, but no tweets. But just kind of wanted to see what you felt about how she handled her situation.
Well, first of all, I believe it or not, I didn't do much reading about it. Yes, I heard about it, and I knew what was going on. The first thing that comes to mind with that is, we can all talk about it. It was a good thing, it was a bad thing, but do we really know what the reason was behind her backing out? I find it hard to believe that a world-class athlete like that backed out only because she had a bad performance. I find that very hard to believe. These people are mentally trained, physically trained. They're at the top of their game. They're, like I said, world-class athletes. So it's hard for me to say whether she quit or she removed herself for the right reasons, because I don't think any of us really know why she backed out.
Yeah, I feel very much the same way that you do on that. If she didn't have the history that she had, like I said, I mean, she's got between Olympics and world championships and whatever else. I mean, she's got enough metal to probably melt down and make a brand new car. Seems like there had to be a lot extra going on there with her. And if it's probably mentally is what it seems like most of the reports are. And that's the thing where, on some level, it's who am I to judge? I mean, I'm some schmo that played a low level of baseball 30 years ago, and she's at the absolute best of the best. And I have to admit, my initial reaction was not favorable, and my gut reaction on it was that's ridiculous. And then you take a step back and this is somebody who has this incredible track record of performing at the highest level. It couldn't just be that she didn't feel like she still won the American competition to be on the team. So It's not like she's washed up or anything like that, where like, oh, she had a bad performance. If she couldn't win gold, she was just going to quit. And you look at the things that she does on the floor exercises, on the vault, and that, like, if she's not, if there's something that's going on with her physically or mentally, if she's just makes a slight mistake, if the power that she jumps and the height that she gets on her routines and whatnot, she could seriously injure herself. So that's where I was pretty much along the lines of what you were ultimately, but I'm not proud to admit it, but my gut reaction was a little harsh.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is this, in the world of social media now, everybody is quick, to make a rush to judgment right off the bat. What you did was right. What you did was wrong. Everybody wants to, put their 2 cents in. I don't necessarily go by that. I mean, I want more information, basically, is what it comes down to. To me, it seems there's got to be more to what we know. I don't know enough about it to be able to say, this was the reason, or that none of us know. I don't think anybody really knows the main reason. This is what they said was the reason. So I just find it very hard to believe that a world-class athlete had a bad performance and said, that's it, I quit.
Right. Yeah. Taking my ball and going home seems very unlikely.
Right.
So, and she was still out there cheering her team on. She had the biggest smile on her face when people on her team won medals and whatnot. So that's the other thing is I definitely give her a hell of a lot of credit. If it was a situation where I think she was just pulling herself out because she wasn't sure if she could win, I think she would have been on a plane and out of there. But she stayed, and she was a great teammate. So that that goes really far.
I was just going to say, and that's awesome. When somebody could do that. It's funny you say that because I just heard a story, and I'm not sure if I got it right, but I think it was a girl softball player that whatever happened, she got pulled out of the game. She was, one of the best players on the team, and she got pulled out of the game, and she was in the dugout, and she was doing, a very similar thing where she was, up on the rail, she was cheering her team and, into the game just as if she was in it. And, these are things that we try to instill in our youth players, that it's a tough thing. And when you see that people do get it, it makes me feel that, there is still hope that we can train our young kids to understand that, hey, it's about the team, and, you support your team regardless of what's going on.
Right. So, the team comes before the individual at all times. It's tough to get kids to do it. So again, there's a situation, a player who's very much used to being a superstar, used to being at the top of her game, and instead of sitting there and sulking, supporting the team and doing, you contribute one way or the other is really what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
And that's fantastic. So these topics are going to go in order of probably notoriety. So that was a topic. Again, I think people in Saskatoon heard of Simone Biles. So,
wait a minute. Before you go on, did I foul it off? Did I put it in play, or was it a strike?
I think that was a solid single up the middle. Might have been able to stretch into a double on that one. We'll see. If the center fielder was a little lackadaisical. So, all right. So that's the first one. So the next one, again, Olympic topic. So I'm not sure if you would have heard of this one. So the high jump finals. Did you hear what happened with that?
I didn't.
Okay. So basically it boiled down to there was 2 jumpers that were left. I'm probably going to absolutely butcher these names, but first one, this is in the men's high jump. The first one was from the country of Qatar, and his last name is Barsham. Okay. and the other one is from Italy, and that was Timberi. So what happened was, so they were jumping, and they both made the last height, whatever it was, and then they both went for the next height and both missed. And they came out, and I guess the options at that point were to keep going until somebody wins, which is what I think everybody would expect to happen. And I'm not sure exactly what the situation is with this. I will freely admit I'm not the world's biggest high jump aficionado. So what they wound up doing, make a long story short, was they wound up, instead of doing a final jump off to try to clear that next height, they split the gold.
Ooh.
Yeah. So a little bit different take on this one. So a little bit of background for you, just so you know. So apparently these two have been two of the best for a number of years. They have competed against each other multiple times. They've gotten to know each other and have become very friendly. Apparently they've been two of the best, or the two best for some time. All that being said, they decided to, I'm going to use the word settle for a draw. So they each got the gold, and then the third place person was just the bronze. And that is how it goes in the official record book. Thoughts?
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I don't agree with it. I'll tell you that. I wish I knew what the tiebreaker rules used to be for the high jump, because that would, I'm sure that, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time that they did this.
Yes. I didn't hear of any, and I didn't do a deep dive into it. I did a casual dive into it, but I do not believe that there was anything like this again. One thing again that I felt was very interesting was, so now this is in the Olympics, it's all metric system. So they were, forgive me, I might be wrong in this, but I'm going to say it was 2.9 meters was where they both missed at. They both made 2.7. So as a schmo that doesn't know anything about this, of course, I go, well, seems to be a logical place to go. And let's put it at 2.8 and see what happens. But I'm not sure if that's what it would have been, or they would have gone back to 2.9, or they would have gone back to 2.7 and see if they still made it. But there obviously, we don't hear of this ever happening. So there obviously is some format for quote unquote normally being able to decide these things. And they didn't. It's not like they went through 5 different rounds and it was still a draw.
Right.
They both missed. I think they get 3 chances. They both missed their 3 shots, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah. This kind of ties into our last show about, being competitive. I could tell you this, I wouldn't have been happy. I would have rather fight it out. And if I wound up with the silver, I wound up with the silver, whatever, but at least be competitive and try it and have a definitive outcome. It's that seems to me is that everybody gets a trophy mentality. Well, you both couldn't do it, so we'll just give you both the gold. Well, no, I agree with you. Let's set it at 2.8 and see who can do what here. And then we'll fight it out until there's a winner and a loser.
Yeah, it seemed like such an odd concept. And even it was weird because I wound up watching it when that was happening, and I couldn't believe it when all of a sudden they just started jumping up and down, and they embraced each other. And I mean, on the one hand, it was great, and they were talking about the massive sportsmanship between the two of these guys, and yeah, I can see that, but yeah, you want to be the best of the best. You can't both walk away with a gold medal. I don't get it.
You're saying that they were talking about sportsmanship. Okay. Well, it's really easy to be a good sportsman when you both got the gold. Hey, I got one, you got one. Hey, this is my buddy. Yeah, this is great. You did a great job. All right. Sportsmanship would have been, in my opinion, fight it out. And the guy who gets the silver, congratulating the guy who got the gold and said, you were a better man today. And that's sportsmanship.
Right.
I'm not upset. We duked it out and this was the outcome.
Right. Today was your better day. Maybe next time will be my better day. That's how sports works. Right.
Sure.
You know,
absolutely.
That's what it say. You know, the better team against the weaker team. maybe it's 99 out of 100, but there's always that one day that that best pitcher in the league has an off day or whatever, or vice versa on the other team. Some kid has the best day of his life and goes 4 for 4 and just gets all their RBIs or what have you. So it seemed peculiar, definitely. I don't have any hate for him. I'm not going to go on Twitter and start bashing anybody. That's not my personality. I find it very odd, and I don't like that they were sort of held out as examples of what to do, because I think that flies in the face of sports.
I mean, actually, really, you can look at it two ways. Really, nobody won.
Correct. That's
the way
that's what I was thinking. If they want to do that, then they should both be silver medal winners.
Exactly. There you go.
If you really look at it, that way, because how can you have 2 gold medal winners?
Right.
The World Series can't end with both guys, with both teams getting the rings.
Right.
Hockey, whatever example you want to give, it doesn't work that way. So I found that interesting, but just a different topic. So okay.
And so what do you think now? Does that mean I'm 2 for 2 now?
Yeah, that one. All right, yeah, and that was that was a solid double off the wall. So
wow,
you're good on that. That one was good. All right, so this one's really going to throw. I'm certain that you never heard of this, and this definitely goes into a different direction. And I don't want to make this political. Our podcast obviously is far from political. It's going to get into it a little bit, but I want to do it from a purely sports point of view. So in judo, okay. Again, I'm going to assume you didn't hear anything about the judo competition
I did not.
Okay. All right. So definitely one and possibly 2 competitors decided they were qualified. The one even weighed in for their meet and decided not to go out and forfeit their meet. They were both against the same competitor. Okay. I'm not going to give their names because, quite frankly, I don't think that they deserved it. Not that they're going to be listening to our Putting the Bases podcast, but who knows? But I will give the name of the other competitor because he was a competitor. So I'm going to butcher it a little. So there was a gentleman from Israel, Tohar Boutbol, I think is the last name. So both of these competitors declined to face him. The first one stated the reason was in solidarity with Palestine, because this person is from this judoku, I think they call them. The competitors are called judokus. This person is from Israel, and this person was not from Palestine, was not from there, but in support of the Palestinians, he refused to face this Israeli competitor. The second person who weighed in and then actually wasn't even supposed to face this person, was facing somebody, and the winner would then face Tohar. He weighed in for his meet and left, and never came out, never gave an explanation. The assumption was it was for the same thing. I'm not announcing his name, not giving him any. I'm not saying that's definitely what it is, but the first person it absolutely was. You are at the Olympics. You are going against the best of the best. As far as I know, obviously there's like UFC and pride fighting and things like that, but there's no judo specific professional league somewhere where you can go to. So the Olympics is probably it as far as, truly the best of the best. You train for your whole life, whatnot, and you decide to walk away. Somehow that's sending a message against Israel because you didn't face this one person.
Well, okay. So obviously he felt that his political views were more important than him competing. The only thing I could say there is that's his opinion. That's his view. I don't know what else to say.
So getting away from the political side though, but could you, from the political side, I think it's ridiculous because even if that is your view, what would be a better thing than to beat that guy?
Good point.
Okay. If that's really, I know it's also, hey, you look at, every country. I mean, there's people from the worst dictators in the world that they send their athletes to the games. I mean, that's what this is supposed to be about, is the competition between the athletes and not the politics of it. Right? This is just some schmo who happens to have been from Israel.
Right.
You're going to take his opportunity away from competing. Now he got a forfeit and moved on to the next round, but nobody wants to win that, right?
Right.
Certainly not
I mean,
that level.
The only thing I could say, as far as that goes, I think it's ridiculous to not, to put in all of that effort and all of that training and all of that stuff and not go out and see, bear the fruits of your hard work. It just seems silly to me. But, and I'm just going to make this just one quick statement as far as, politics of sports. And it's very simple. I just believe that politics have no place in sports, because you're alien, no matter what your view is, you're going to alienate, let's say, 50% of the people. So, why take a stand? You want, all of the people to be involved, whatever they're fans, spectators, whatever they are. I would think that you would want everybody involved. So, kind of keep your political views to yourself, whatever they are. And I don't care what they are, because you're going to alienate certain people. And why? What is the purpose?
Right. And see, that's where I just say, if this other person felt so strongly against, Israel and in solidarity with Palestine, that's still, so talk about it afterwards.
Sure.
You want to talk about it beforehand, you want to talk about it afterwards, have at it. But to, again, cause yourself the opportunity to compete and to cause the other person the opportunity to compete, who may have absolutely nothing to do with anything that's going on there, is just, that was amazing. It was a shocking story to me. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, like I said, if it comes down to anything, I mean, how long do Olympic athletes have to train? I mean, it's years of hard work, training to try and prove that you're the best in the world. And then to go there and say, you know what, I don't like what color his hair is, I'm done, and walk away. It's I don't know. To me, it's silly.
And think about it, you double down on that this year, because these guys were supposed to be competing last year. Remember, they got pushed off a year. So you want to talk about, the heartache and the mental and emotional toll that had to take on these people, on all of these guys. The fact that they were able to come out and still perform at such a super high level as they did, and all the world records that were broken in all the different, in the swimming sports and the track and field events and all that stuff. I think it's amazing. I don't care what country you're from. But yeah, that was just so that was three stories that I thought we could relate to our most recent topic of the competitiveness and are you again, I think that last one, it certainly it muddies the waters, but I still feel like that falls under that whole convenient competitor situation of, if you're going to take yourself out for those reasons, it seems, I don't know, that seems like it seems like the coward's way out to me. Because I have to think, was he concerned that he was going to lose, and then that would somehow support Israel or whatever, when nobody in the world was thinking that. Nobody.
Right.
So
it's, again, it's just these are the kind of things in today's world of sports that I just don't understand. I really don't. It's a competition. Again, like we said a million times, go out and compete. Whatever happens, happens. Do the best you can. I mean, to have these reasons is, I don't know, it's silly, but that's my take.
That's it. Okay, that's good. That's good. And I like I said, I did not want that to go into any other directions. This was not trying to get you or myself in any hot water with anybody on any side. I'm not weighing in, either way on that.
But that's the whole point, Dave.
This is not right. This is not the place for it.
That's right. That's the whole point. Yes. So I don't know. So did I score any runs? What did I do here? How did I wind up?
Yeah, no, I think you did a fantastic job. Solid 3 for 3 day, and
wow.
and I think you can. You know what, kid? Go hit the showers. Oh no, wait. We still have the rest of the show to do here. Yeah. Wait a minute. What the hell am I saying? So, all right. So that's a little sidetrack for those of you. If you didn't find it interesting and it wasn't on the topic that you're used to talking about here on clearing the bases as far as youth baseball goes, I apologize and not in advance because we're done with it. But you know what? I like to mix some things up, keep you guessing as to what we're going to be talking about last time. But again, it really all boils down to it just happened to be right on point with what our last topic was, and I felt that it could be an interesting conversation to do. And I think you did a great job with those, Jim.
I'm feeling good.
Good. All right, so let's talk some baseball. What do you say?
There you go.
All right. So again, want to thank everybody for coming along this ride with us. The response to our shows has been fantastic. We are growing in listeners every week and could not do it without you guys. Rate, review, give us 5 stars on your Apple Podcasts, on your Spotify. Send it out to a friend. We really appreciate it. It's how this thing keeps working, and let's just keep building it up bigger and bigger. All right. So our topic du jour, that we're going to talk about something that I don't know if we've really talked about it. We definitely haven't talked about it directly. It maybe has sort of come up in some of our conversations, but it's something that I think is important, and it could be another interesting topic, and it is actually baseball related. And that has to do with, we've talked about coaching the coaches and practicing and getting the kids to buy into our methodologies and into the program and supporting the team and all that. So one of the things on that kind of line of thinking is how much coaching should we and do we do during the game itself? So we have our practices, we have our games, and how much actual coaching should we be doing during the games?
So what I'll say with that is and it also depends what type of coaching you're talking about, because my feeling is during the game, you're doing very little, if any, coaching. I take the view that this is the stage where the players I shouldn't say the players, where I actually get to see if what I'm doing in practice is working. So it's go out there, do your thing. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on, but there's no coaching, so to speak, other than a player misses a cutoff. I seem to always go to cutoffs. I want to think of a different example. I don't know. A player misses a sign. I wouldn't say a word, but after the inning, I will take him on the side, and just quick 2 seconds. Hey, bud, you missed a sign. Come on, let's stay focused. That type of coaching I will do during a game. But as far as I believe what you're trying to get to is coaching from the dugout where, ground balls hit to your shortstop and you're yelling out of the dugout 3-3-3 or 2-2-2 or whatever you're yelling. No, that should never happen. No, you're confusing the kid.
All right. So, and I know that at this level, at the level that you coach at, again, it's a high level travel team and then JV for a private school for a very competitive team. And that does seem to be the overwhelming philosophy, is basically practice is for practice, games are for seeing, let's implement what we learned in practice, and then afterwards kind of regroup and then talk about what happened during the game and work on strengthening our weaknesses and whatnot. So my take is a little different. Now, this year was the first time that I coached at the high school level. I had coached in certainly little league age and a little bit higher in terms of travel ball and all-stars and things like that, up into the low teens, teenage years for my boys. But I've always felt like if I wasn't coaching from the dugout, then I wasn't doing my job as a coach. Not necessarily like the and I know it was on one example that you gave, but not necessarily with that example, because that's kind of too late. I don't think I would be I'm not yelling as the ball's getting hit to the kid. I'm not yelling what base to throw to. Yeah, no, I absolutely understand, and I agree with for the most part. You need to let the kids tell each other, or the kids obviously should be mentally prepared before that ball is hit to know if it's hit to my left, I'm going one way. If it's hit to my right, I'm going the other way, what have you. But I'm even talking about things like pitchers with the pitchers. That was a big thing in the spring ball for us this season, where we had some pitchers that were struggling with some of their mechanics. And again, I was the assistant coach. The head coach's philosophy was you can't really work, not you can't work on it during the game. Got to let them try to figure it out, and then if not, we're just pulling them. And that was something that I just disagree with from the standpoint. I never want that kid to feel like he's just left on an island because they are still kids, right? 13, 14 years old. I think pretty much my whole team was 13, 14, maybe a 15-year-old or two in there, but they are still kids. If I can see that they're just not striding, they're not going down the hill, right? They're not striding down the mound the way that they should be, and they're short stepping it. That's something that I feel like you can talk about in the middle, not in the middle of a pitch, obviously, but in between batters, maybe that is something that you can throw out there. Hey, watch your front foot, something along that line. Same thing at the plate. If a kid is pulling his head out, if a kid is, just a very basic correction. I not only do I not see an issue with it, like I said, I feel like that's what I'm there for, is to help with that stuff. And the idea of, in those instances of kind of confusing the kid or giving him too much to think about or blah, 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 like, well, if what he's doing isn't working, then how much worse is it going to be at that point?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you there. Okay. And I don't see a problem with when maybe I'm being quite honest with you. I wouldn't do this, but I don't see a problem with
it. And for the record, I assumed that we were going to be on different sides of the fence on this one. So you're not going to hurt my feelings.
No.
Yeah, this is one I knew from other conversations that we've had off air that pretty well where you stood.
I don't believe, and we'll use the same example with pitchers. I want him thinking about only what he's supposed to be thinking about. I don't want him thinking anything mechanical when he's pitching at all. To me, that's a recipe for disaster. So, again, that's somewhere where we're going to disagree. I don't think that you should be coaching mechanics, any position, pitching, hitting, catching, whatever, during the game. I think that you should make note of what's going on, what they're doing wrong, and then in practice work on it and straighten it out there, because you're only going to confuse the kid, because now his mind is on his stride. That's not where I want him. I want him figuring out how he's setting his batter up and how he's going to get him out. That's what he should be thinking. There's going to be days where things are off. You've probably seen it. This is off or that is off. Yeah, sure. I want him to try and figure out, hey, look, I don't have whatever. I don't have velocity today. Why is my velocity down? What can I do to whatever? That's him. I want him to do that, make that adjustment. That's something that I will say from the dugout area. Come on, let's make an adjustment. Let's go. But I will not try and correct what he's doing.
Right. And like I said, I definitely seem to be in the minority out of the people that I've talked to about it. I actually did get into, I don't want to say like I got into it with a guy, but I had believe it or not, a nice civil conversation with somebody on Twitter on this topic, whose philosophy sounded like it was closer to mine. It's just, and maybe it's part of my personality of being a know-it-all and just having to let everybody know how much I know, even when I don't know. But I really, the other side of that was, and I'm sure it was worse this year. We've talked about it a little bit, but it was also worse this year because of COVID, because our schedule was compressed, and we tried to get basically the normal number of games in in a much smaller season. So our practice time was so much less than our game time. And when you've got your 14, 15 players and you're trying to, as we've talked about before, you're trying to keep everybody interested and keep everybody moving and being able to keep an eye on everybody. We were having trouble on our team, and there was 3 of us there as coaches trying to find those opportunities to really work with somebody on the side on their form or whatnot. A, just because of time, and then B, especially with pitching, it boiled down to, with the way our schedule was, is everybody had either just pitched or they were about to pitch. And how much of a bullpen session could you have on your day off to work on that stuff?
Right.
So that was the other thing, doubling down on where I felt it really could have been, I could be 100% wrong here, but it really could have been beneficial to be a little more outspoken, a little more directive during the game.
But I'm going to ask you a question. So, and because I understand what you're saying, I deal with the same thing. Do you think that during that game, when you're telling him, whatever, you're blowing open or whatever, do you think that you're going to be able to fix it? You're not. You're just not going to in that moment.
Well, you just asked me a question and I answered for it. So I will tell you.
I couldn't help it.
So I'm not sure where you stand on this stuff. So the answer is, am I going to be able to correct it? We're not going to be able to get it to an ideal spot, but could we get it better than what's going on? Can we get it to where it's functional and is now, I don't know, less bad, if you want to say that? Absolutely. And that's and I've seen that with the younger kids that I've coached. When I was coaching younger kids, little league age kids, I did it all the time, and it's basically what I was known for. And I'm sure, I know I had parents that would request me to be their kids' coach because of that. And I never heard this, but I'm sure I had parents who didn't want me to be their kids' coach because that's the way I did. But I just know in the instances where I wasn't coaching my kid, and I'll say this flat out for all those listening who are not necessarily coaches or are not coaching a kid, I never did it from the stands. I will tell you that 100%. I never coached from the stands. Okay. In fact, 99% of the time, I wouldn't be in the stands if I wasn't the coach of my kid's team. I was out at the outfield fence because I'm constantly making comments and I don't want anybody else to hear them. I'm only making them at that point, I'm only making them for myself. But back to being on point with, if I was coaching on a team where I wasn't the head coach and the head coach wasn't doing what I felt they were supposed to be doing, either because they didn't know or they just had the more hands off during the game philosophy, I was always very uncomfortable with that because, again, I would just, to me, repeating myself, but I felt like I was just leaving the kid hung out to dry. You got a 10-year-old or something like that. And it was just, I didn't get that.
Well, one thing I will say that, and I'll use this example again, because we're talking about pitching. I may say to him, make sure you're leading with your front pocket. Okay. Because that's something that I teach when we're training. Okay. So I teach them to lead with their front pocket towards the catcher. It's kind of hard to understand, but my guys know what it means.
Right.
So, right. It's basically going with your hip towards the catcher.
See, I know.
So it's a cue that I use that I may say, hey, come on, lead with your front pocket. He knows what I mean. And that's it. I won't go any further than that. But it's something that we had trained that way. He knows what that cue means. And maybe I'm helping him by reminding him, hey, this is, what we worked on or whatever. But as far as to, like I said, get very mechanical, I don't think it's a good idea. Because, again, those are things you don't want him thinking about during a game. It's the same thing like when I was saying about, when a ground ball is hit and something comes to mind, because an assistant coach that did this, and we had a nice long talk after the game about it. There was a slow roller hit to my third baseman. My catch is yelling, and I don't remember, I'll just say my catch is yelling 2-2-2. and the assistant coach is yelling 1-1-1. Now that kid has no idea where to throw the ball. So, we had a conversation about it. I told him, I said, no, I said, let them make their mistakes or whatever, but the catcher's calling the game and not you. So,
right. And that I agree with. That I agree with 100%. We're training these kids to take charge, especially your catcher, your shortstop, your center fielder, right? We're training these kids to take charge of the game. We're hammering that down in them. So then we then can't pull that away from them in the heat of the moment. No, I agree with that. Like I said, that's not the aspect that I was ever looking at, although sometimes it's very difficult for me to keep my mouth shut when that stuff is going on. But I manage to. I think I manage to most, if not all of the time.
Something that you said is something that I want to touch on this topic, where you said that maybe some parents wanted you to coach their kid and maybe other parents didn't because of that type of coaching. Parents sometimes will look at coaches that they're not doing their job if they're not coaching from the dugout, because they don't understand that that's, in my opinion, not how you coach. Your coaching is done at practice. So parents need to understand that also, that, again, and this is not a knock on your theory and your approach, but parents may not know better that that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So they look at it like, we want the coach, oh, look at my coach. He's helping my kid. Well, no, he's really not. He's actually hurting him, because now the kid is relying on whatever the coach is telling him instead of thinking for himself and becoming better that way.
Right. I get where you're coming from on that. And I'm sure, again, maybe as I coach at this level and at this high, older age a little bit more, maybe those feelings will go away from me. Probably not in their entirety, but maybe I'll have a shift in philosophy. But what I saw this year definitely did not change. I didn't do it because that's not what my head coach wanted to do, and he's the boss. So I wasn't doing. I kept it to an absolute minimum. But I definitely was. It was a battle for me, as I said, to not throw those little tidbits out here and there. And I'm not talking about, if there's a major mechanical issue where a kid was about to do, was throwing in such a way that I think he was going to pop his elbow out of joint or whatever. Obviously, that's a different situation. And I'm sure you jump in on something like that too. Nobody's going to let a kid just go and physically hurt themselves. But I definitely have a hard time with that. Maybe that is still the younger kid, the little league mentality that I need to get out of to be a successful coach at this level. I don't know, but I just, I didn't see anything this year that changed my philosophy after going through, almost a 20 game season and whatnot.
Well, here's the thing. Once again, this is my take on this. I believe that if coaches understood not to do this at the younger ages, then it would, because I don't think it would carry on. And what I'm getting at is, you're seeing what you're seeing because the kids were not properly trained prior to getting to you at that JV level. And I see that also. I see that a lot. So they're looking at the coach to tell them things that I always understood, that I look at that they should have known already. Am I making sense? I mean, I know I'm kind of rambling.
Yeah, no. I think I understand what you're saying, because they either weren't coached the right. I hate to say the right way. I don't want to take anything away from the people that volunteered their time and spent the hours and hours with them, but they either, maybe if they were set up, if they were always coached that way, then they're always going to continually to look to the coach to
exactly
coach that way. Or if they just they just weren't instructed necessarily the quote unquote right way or proper way from the get-go, even if the coach wasn't coaching from the dugout, maybe the coach couldn't recognize, whatever coach they had couldn't recognize that their mechanics were flawed So they were able to just, when if you're doing something wrong 500 times in the gym, guess what? You get out on the field, obviously you're going to do it wrong again because your muscle memory is now built up with the wrong mechanic.
Right.
So, so I guess either one of those situations.
And another quick story, and this happened 2 weekends ago. I was at a game coaching third base. Foul ball was hit over to where the parents were. So it was a dad, and he grabbed the ball and, he flipped it back to me, and I threw it back in. And I don't remember, somebody had called timeout. So the parent said to me, "Hey, coach," he said, I want to commend you on your team. He said, you're only one coach because I don't have an assistant coach with my travel team this year. I get guys here and there, but for the most part, I don't have a full-time assistant. And he said, your boys are in the dugout by themselves. He said, they're calm. They're behaving the way they should be. And you're coaching them on the field. He said, and I don't hear you giving any type of instruction or anything like that. Meanwhile, his team had, I don't even know, 3 or 4 coaches. And that's all you heard all game long. First of all, the kids were all over the dugout, and the coaches were yelling from the dugout, "Hey, throw to second, do this, do that." That was, to me, that was a great compliment. It goes to my point that all of that stuff that he was talking about, I achieved that at practice. There's no way I'm going to make that happen during a game. So when you go out there and when you're playing the game, go out there, do your thing, and we'll talk about it after the game, and then we'll work on it in practice.
I get that. And that's a great testament to what you've been able to instill in them up to this point. So, I mean, there's definitely, and I've seen teams that had that. I don't know if I saw any of that this year, but I've definitely have seen before where the same kid is getting kind of 2 different things told to him at the same time by 2 different coaches and things like that. So that's where, no, it's not like I believe it should be a free for all and just, constantly running your mouth out there. It's more of just, I don't even want to say it's on occasion though, because I do think it could be more often than not. And I guess it also depends on the level of the quality of the players that you have there and what level they're at, and
sure,
how disciplined you've helped to get them, I guess.
And one of the things too that you just said that I believe 100% is one voice from coaches. In other words, if you have 3 coaches, well, one guy is talking to the pitcher, and only that guy is talking to the pitcher in between innings. One guy is talking to the hitters, and that's it. You don't want, 2 or 3 different coaches telling the hitter what to do. One guy. And then maybe another guy is working on the defense. So if there's an issue on the defense, they come in and he handles that. One voice. It has to be that way. Because again, if it's not, we go back to that confusion thing where, hey, Coach Joe just told me, whatever, get my front foot down early. Coach Pete just told me I'm dropping my hands. Now the kid is up there. He has no idea what he's doing. So it has to be one voice.
Yeah, no. That is absolute. And that was something I constantly kept myself in check. In fact, more often than not, if there was something that I wanted to yell to the kids, I would say it to the head coach, and he would either say it, most of the time he would say it out to him, or he would tell me, go ahead and say it. Even something as simple as positioning the outfielders or whatever, because I would never want to get into a situation where I'm saying, hey, 3 steps to the glove side, and he yells out 3 steps to the freehand side. So yeah, no. Obviously, there's certainly some overkill that comes with that. I don't want to give the wrong impression. I'm constantly moving during the game. I never sit down. I don't sit on the bench. I don't sit on the ball bucket. I have to be moving. That's just some of my my OCD and my ADD that kicks in with that stuff. But
that's interesting too, because I don't think that I sit down during practice or a game. You will never see me sitting down. I've never sat on a bucket. Never.
No, I can't do it.
And that was something I learned from another coach who was probably a college coach years ago, that, and this may be true, this may not be, but I bought into it, where he felt that if a coach was sitting, like if you're sitting on a bucket soft tossing to your team, what message does that send? You're sitting on your butt and you're telling them you want them to hustle this, that, and the other thing. Meanwhile, you're sitting on a bucket. No. Yeah. If we're at practice and I need to talk to my center fielder, I run out to center field because that's what I expect my players to do. And I, hey, do this, do that, and then I'll run back to the dugout.
And then you grab your chest and wheeze over in the corner. But,
Exactly. But I still do it.
Right. No, so that, that's great. I mean, obviously, we talked a ton of times about setting examples and things like that. But, yeah, no, I absolutely believe in that and making sure that the kids understand. And I just, again, I don't know, I get too fidgety or what have you. God, if you guys, anybody listening ever actually saw the video of Jimmy and I doing this podcast, you'd see me bouncing all over the place while we're doing it. It's not being bored or anything. It's just, that's my nature. But to the point where you talk about never sitting down during the games, even, which a game could be easily 2 hours, 2.5 hours. There'll be times like as soon as the game is over and the adrenaline starts to leave my body, all of a sudden my back will tighten up. Like there's no and that's when it'll hit me. Like I really got to force myself, even between innings at some point, I got to force myself to sit down. And I never do. It's not a bad habit, I guess, for me to have, other than physically it does take its toll.
Oh, I actually like the idea that you're up all the time and you're moving around. But what's funny about that too is if I do sit down, my players know that I'm pissed off about something.
They cross the line.
Coach is sitting down. What'd we do?
Oh God, we're going to be running tomorrow. Nice. So, all right. Well, hey, you know what? Not all of our conversations have to wind up in a nice tight little bow of us coming to conclusions and solutions, because this is something that, again, I know that I'm in the minority, but I'm sure that there's people out there that do it the same way that I do it. I'm sure there's more people that do it out there the way that you do it. We'd love to hear from you guys, so make sure do all those things, like, retweet, support the show. Reach out to us. Let us know your feelings on the topic. We'd love to hear it. Maybe we'll read some of them off on the next show. You can get us on Twitter at the CTB, clearing the bases, CTB show, at the CTB show on Twitter. Shoot us an email, clearingthebases@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to answer. We'll answer everybody that reaches out to us. Absolutely. And keep following us and seeing what we're doing. Anything else you want to add here, Jimmy, or we're good to wrap up?
Just one other quick thing that I wanted to put out there is that just remember that, players, they tend to tense up under pressure. In other words, they feel pressure from playing the game right off the bat. So that if the coach is putting more pressure on them from the dugout, they're going to tend to tense up even more. I believe that you want your players to be mentally tough, but physically relaxed so they perform well. And that's the reason why I take the stance that I do on this. They need to be relaxed. And a lot of times, I don't want to extend this out too much longer, but I've had players come to me and say to me, you know what, coach, we miss playing for you, because when we were out on the field with you, we were always relaxed. We had fun when we were on the field. We had no fear. So, and again, that's just giving a little background on why I feel the way I do.
That makes sense. I get that point of view. I definitely do. And, just like everything else, you're entitled to your opinion, and you're okay to be wrong every now and then. That's all right. So, all right. Again, I'm sure most people will come down on your side of this, but reach out.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know what the majority of people at this level do, but that's okay. That's all right. This world works best when we can have a cool, calm exchange of ideas and viewpoints, and maybe we open each other's eyes up a little bit as to, like I said, as long as there's in this, whether it's in my personal life, my business life, or on the field, give me a reason. give me a line of logic, and I'm open to listening to it at least, and saying, okay, you know what, I at least can understand why you're doing it. I still may disagree with it, but at least maybe I take a step in that direction a little bit, and we keep refining what we're doing, and hopefully we keep getting better, just like we want our boys to get better.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, again, this has been the Clearing the Bases podcast. We love interacting with all you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for following. We really appreciate it. And I'll finish off as keep in mind, there's only two things in this world that we can control at all times. That's our effort and our attitude. Go into everything with a positive mental attitude, PMA, put 100% effort in, and good things will follow. Coach?
I know we've said this, we say it almost every show, but I just can't help but let everybody know that we are so thankful for those of you that are listening. The response has been incredible, and we just can't thank you enough. This is really great. And I'll just leave you with, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you on the next show.